U.S. Open champion, Bryson DeChambeau!
Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
It was nice to at least walk down the last few holes, or at least the last hole, knowing that it was pretty much done. It's never safe, but very proud of everybody, and of course Tiro. I mean, what a week to get his first win in a few years and win by 6 in an absolutely dominant performance the way he did. It was absolutely incredible, so I couldn't be happier for him.
Certainly with not winning for 3.5 years, you kind of naturally question if you can do it again. So I'm just proud of myself to be able to get through that and play the way I did.
We welcome you to hour number 3, our third and final live right here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. One final hour to go, and I mean plenty of baseball coming your way. Just a few more days left here before the All-Star break. We'll have a full slate on Sunday. That rounds out the first half, although we're well past 81 games for all 30 clubs around MLB. But significant games to come to round out these midweek sets on a Thursday to set up the final weekend before the All-Star break as well. Donnie Rightside is locked in. You want an ISO power number? He's got it. You want an XFIP number? He's got it as well. Plenty to look at here and even a season forecast the remainder of the way in this third and final hour around the major leagues.
Action-packed and ready to go. And yes, we're coming down the final stretch here of technically what is thought to be the first half of the Major League Baseball season, even though technically we are already past the halfway point due to games played. But you take that breather next week. Home Run Derby should be interesting. I'll rip the Home Run Derby until tomorrow with the actual – it's Pete Alonso. And you know what? It should just be Pete Alonso and take the rest of these clowns out of it here. I just want to see how far Pete Alonso can get into baseball. Tuesday, I'll enjoy that game. Wednesday, I'll be furious that there's no Major League Baseball. Thursday, once again, I'll be even more furious that there's no Major League Baseball. Then we get back to normalcy. But also, Ben, did you know that this Saturday there are some teams that are going to be reporting to NFL training camp? It's time. We're almost there. The finish line, we can see it in the near distance.
Yes, I did know that. The Baltimore Ravens will send their rookies, the first team to report to training camp, July 13th. Maybe we'll talk a little bit of football tomorrow. Make a note of that. So, DRS, as we start off this third and final hour, we will also talk some football, but at the collegiate ranks. Big 12 Media Days is now done after the past 2 days out in Las Vegas. And yesterday at the mic, it was Deion Sanders. It was Shedeur Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes getting ready for their first year in the Big 12, but year number 2 of the prime era in Boulder under Deion Sanders. What will year 2 look like from a win-loss perspective? That was the question to everybody out there in Fade the Public. 5.5 That's the win total for CU entering 2024. The over has the hefty juice. It's minus 158. That's the expected outcome. If the juice and the odds are correct, that's bowl eligibility for this Colorado program in year number 2 under Deion Sanders. Does the public think the Buffs will get to that stage? Over, under CU's win total. Most of the public, about 63% of the public, saying under for Colorado. Which way did Donnie Rightside vote?
I voted over. And again, it's just based on you have one of the better quarterbacks in the country. And if you won last year 4 games, I'm expecting Deion Sanders to have his feet on the ground now in Colorado, and I expect an even better performance this year. Otherwise, what would happen last year if Shedeur had turned pro? I don't know where that win total will be at this point, or if Deion would still want to stick around at Colorado, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
So I went over, so I am fading the public. I know there's a lot of haters out there that will just look at that poll and say, no, 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 which means under right off the bat. But I want to give them the benefit of the doubt to say to myself, if your quarterback is a first-round talent, you better win 6 games. And it might be different, Ben, if you said, hey, Colorado just moved to the SEC, team total 5.5. Do you go over under? That might be different, because also I don't think the Big 12 is a great conference. It's a quality conference here, but no reason Colorado should not be saying, yes, let's get the 6 wins and get to a bowl.
There are so many different angles to approach this from. I voted to the under because when you speak about Deion Sanders and Colorado, oftentimes the narrative component, the storyline of it all can really kind of be the focus as opposed to the football X's and O's. So I'm only going to speak from the football perspective. Deion Sanders is a breath of fresh air in college football. We heard it from Deion yesterday at the podium, the day following Mike Gundy saying we've all driven drunk thousands of times. What Deion had to say when he was the star of the show was sound, it was rational, it was true. His wins are judged differently, but everybody has the attention and the notoriety on CU. It elevates what that game means for Colorado's opponent, which is fine if you're Alabama, if you're Georgia, if you're Ohio State, but not an FBS program at the power conference level that has won a total of 5 games the last 2 years. And the way that Deion Sanders has built his roster is not high school recruitment. It's not development. It's the transfer portal. It's a professional outlook. Guys come in, guys come out. We're going to take the guys that we have. Colorado has a very difficult schedule by Big 12 standards. I think Colorado stays under 5.5 wins. That would be where the plus money is. I think they could get to 5, which is technically improvement year over year under Deion Sanders. But I do not think this year is easy for CU. The win total a season ago for the Buffaloes, 3.5. They went over that number by the time they reached the opening Saturday in October. And it's a good thing they did, because they did not win again over their final 6 games of the season. This year, I don't think the schedule is as favorable for Colorado. They knocked off TCU opening weekend of the year as a 3-touchdown underdog in Fort Worth against the reigning national runner-ups. That came out of nowhere. I think this year's test to start off the season might be even more difficult. Ben, it's an FCS opponent, North Dakota State. What are you saying? The Bison are an FCS powerhouse. Deion himself yesterday said he's mad at his athletic director, Rick George, for scheduling that game to start off a season. Can't you give me a cupcake? Because the Bison are anything but a cupcake. Colorado hosts that game. National attention on it. In primetime, the opening Thursday of the year, August 29th, and CU is only an 8.5-point favorite. I say all of this, Donnie, from the football perspective. I think the loss of offensive coordinator Sean Lewis, who was demoted midway through the season last year, is going to rear its ugly head to Colorado. They have to get better on the offensive line. They addressed it through the transfer portal. They added the 5-star O-tackle in Jordan Seaton. Is it enough for a program that allowed the second most sacks in all of FBS college football a season ago? I'm not so sure. I go under 5.5 for the Buffaloes.
Yeah, and I can see that there as well. But also, when you talk about being able to improve yourself and do it quickly, now in the college landscape, both basketball and football, you can do that. You can hit the portal, get a brand new offensive line, whereas in the past, what are you going to do? Hit the recruiting trail and bring 5, 17-year-old kids here trying to change the program overnight? That can't happen. But also, we're not talking about 8 or 9 wins. We're not saying he's got to win the Big 12. You just got to get to 6. And so many times when you open up the season, typically, it is one of those, let's just go down and play like a MEAC team and pick up a victory at home for a nice home gate, get the season started. They're going to play a tough opponent, but they still are favored by a touchdown, as you pointed out. Now, so many times we look at those first games and say it's referendum time, and specifically on 5.5. You look at, like, hey, you can't lose a game, like Alabama in the past. Like, hey, you play 12 games, 11.5 is the total. You think they're going to run the table. There is no room for error. There is some room for error here on that schedule, but that doesn't mean you can lose opening game by a touchdown. Then you start looking at that 5.5 and go, there's no shot. They have to win that opening day. So when Deion talks about, we're everybody's Super Bowls at this point and everybody gets their best shot, this might be Colorado's Super Bowl because they will have the national eyes and all the attention on them. If they look good opening night, the hype train's going to start for Deion. They lose, boy, oh boy, those Sharks are going to be in the water, and there's no way they're going to get to that 5.5, in my opinion.
They have to go to Lincoln this year to take on Nebraska. Last year, the game was at Folsom Field in Boulder. No, it's not. They're losing that football game. They have to take on 7 of the 9 opponents in Big 12 play, and 7 of those opponents ranked inside the top 7 in terms of their conference odds. It is a difficult slate for Colorado. That is the only reason I say on a daily basis with Craig Mish up next.
It is Canada. Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I want to know, too, what was the highest you ever got on both of those metrics?
So the highest club speed I've ever gotten with a 45-inch driver, we'll just say stock, was, I think it was 129.9. I never cracked 130. Never cracked 130. That was juice. That was on caffeine. I can't even talk. And then I got 195 ball speed.
195 ball speed.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
this
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
For one final time on a daily basis before we send him off to Arlington and the All-Star break, Craig Mish joins us here on this Thursday morning on the early line on SportsGrid, the host of Newswire, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time each and every day, our MLB insider here on the SportsGrid network. Craig, we love finishing every day here on the daily basis by saying we'll see you tomorrow. We're not going to see
Right.
you tomorrow. You're going to be making your way to the heart of Texas for that MLB All-Star break starting this weekend.
Yes, yes, it is true. It's weird not being here with you guys. It's weird not taking time off. Like I'm a dinosaur with that. It's like I just generally don't take long times off. I like doing this. I like working. But there's two traditions that I generally have, whether it's at SportsGrid or being in media for 30 years. The first is I work Christmas every year. Every year, without a doubt, I'm working on Christmas because, being Jewish, I work Christmas Day. They ask me to work. And the second is I try to plan time off during the All-Star break regardless, because it's just one of those times of the year where it's a little slower.
Craig, you and me both, nose to the grindstone. We can't get DRS to work a Friday with all the weddings that he has this summer, so I completely understand it. I knew Donnie liked that one. So for one final time before the All-Star break in MLB, it's time for the Daily Bases. Oh, no sound. That is always the game that we have to play each and every day. As we touch them all, we head to first base. Craig, yesterday I asked you when would the field fill out for the MLB Home Run Derby on Monday night in Arlington. We get our answer. Welcome in Ardolis Garcia, and Teoscar Hernandez as well. The full field of 8 is filled. Craig, what do you make of all 8 hitters we will see on Monday night with you in attendance in right field?
Yeah, I guess there's just not going to be a lot of home runs there, as it turns out. So shame on me, I guess. I'll be rooting for Gunnar Henderson. Maybe Jose Ramirez will hit lefty. Yeah, this is the one thing that if I was Major League Baseball, sort of got to be a little critical. I mean, I think you got to try and find a couple of left-handed hitters to hit in this home run derby. If Gunnar Henderson gets knocked out right away, every single ball and every single camera shot is the same. No one's going oppo to right field. But that being said, look, I don't have a final opinion on the field yet. What I would say is I think Adolis Garcia, when it comes out, is going to be one of the favorites. Those guys never do well in front of the home crowd, so don't get sucked into that. That would be my advice going into Monday night. I probably would reach a little toward Pete Alonso again. Just so much experience doing this. I feel like he's got to have a great shot to win.
Yeah, it should be fun to watch it play out. But you're right. Maybe they just change it up here on the fly, Craig, and go opposite field home runs where 2 home runs as opposed to 1. Certainly filling up those seats out there in right field. So maybe we can make some of those changes. I'll tell you one guy that's been pretty impressive and reaching the seats, Rhys Hines of the Cincinnati Reds. 6'4", 215, 2 bombs already in his young career, multiple RBI. What are we looking at? Because we always love when some of these up-and-comers hit the major league scene and have success right away. Rhys Hines looks the part right now.
Yeah, and we saw him participate in a home run derby as a amateur out of high school several years ago. And which one, I'm not sure. I don't recall, but I was there when he did it. So, for Hines, you look at a lot of the statistics for the minor league players this year, and you wonder, why Hines even got called up, because his numbers are down from where they were a year ago. But universally speaking, that's kind of what's gone on in baseball at the major league and minor league level. A lot of players' numbers are just down this year, and whether it's the baseball or better pitching, I'm not really sure. But if you go back and look at his stats from 2 years ago, then he would deserve a call-up. The only thing that I'd be concerned with Hines is, again, very good success initially. Video will come out. They'll figure out which tendencies he has, and he is a high strikeout guy. So if you remember last year, let's just use the Reds as an example. They call up Elly De La Cruz, hot right away. Kind of got softer as the season went on, striking out a little bit more. Probably the same thing will happen to Rhys Hines, but for now, you ride the wave.
3 total games for Hines in his MLB career. Hit a home run in each of his first 2, both traveling more than 440 feet. Had 5 extra base knocks in his first 2 career games. The first to ever do that in their first 2 career games in Major League Baseball history. Brooks Lee, by the way, for the Minnesota Twins, his second home run yesterday to start the comeback for Minnesota over Chicago. 2 homers in 8 MLB games. The young rooks that have been on display the past week looking pretty good. The focus of Major League Baseball throughout the All-Star break will be in Arlington, the home of the reigning World Series champs, the Texas Rangers. Now, the Angels did win the third and final game of their midweek set against Texas yesterday, 7-2 to avoid the sweep in Anaheim. But the Rangers in July, 9 games. They have won 6 of those 9. Still 5 games below 500. Craig, after the All-Star break, what do you think the remainder of the year holds for the reigning World Series champs?
Yeah, it's funny, Ben, the industry, meaning that like the people that I speak to a lot and just kind of talk about different things this time of the year, seem to think the Rangers are going to get hot at some point in the second half of the season and not to count them out. Now, we really have seen no indication of that in the first half, but I suppose you would hold out hope to say, hey, look, this was a really good team over the course of all last season. They have more or less the same players back. But in the end, I know they're going to get Scherzer and, they're going to get DeGrom hypothetically back and probably better from Eovaldi and some of the other pitchers. But, I mean, hitting is what got them to the postseason last year. And I know hitting is down across the board. Maybe that is what's doomed them this year. The ball, who knows? But, Ben, they've got to hit in the second half in order to get back there.
Paul Skeens Day today. Craig Mish taking on Aaron Savali. And how about this? The Pittsburgh Pirates are a favorite on the road. Why? Because, yes, Paul Skeens has been tremendous so far this season. A minus 120 favorite. What can we anticipate out of Paul Skeens today going up against the Brew Crew?
Yeah, as we've seen, the Pirates are in or winning virtually every start that he's in. But the strikeout, what is a strikeout prop today? I should have looked right before the show. I'm going to guess 7.5, something like that. Yeah, I'm going to guess 7.5, somewhere along those lines.
7.5, the over has the juice, Craig, minus 130.
There you go. There's your play. It's like clockwork. They can't make it high enough. And that's juice. That's crazy. Think about the 7.5. Yeah. I think the last game, it was 7.5 also, but it was minus 105 or 110. He's going to have strikeout props of 8 soon. You got to play the over. You got to do it.
8+ Ks for Skeens in 6 of his last 7 starts, and the only one under 7 strikeouts. Craig Mish, safe travels to Arlington in the MLB All-Star break. We'll talk to you late next week. More on the early line up next.
It is Canada. Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I want to know, too, what was the highest you ever got on both of those metrics?
So the highest club head speed I've ever gotten with a 45-inch driver, we'll just say stock, was, I think it was 129.9. I never cracked 130. Never cracked 130. That was juice. That was on caffeine. I can't even talk. And then I got 195 ball speed.
195 ball speed.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We'll continue our baseball breakdowns for a 12-game slate on a Thursday. That's a lot of games for a Thursday around Major League Baseball in just a moment. We'll go game by game. We'll give you best bets. We'll find you some plays, but we only have 4 more days of this first half before the All-Star break begins at the conclusion of games on Sunday night. So how about some mid-season specials that are available on the FanDuel Sportsbook? Here are a couple of our favorites. Can Aaron Judge rival what he did 2 years ago with 62 long balls to set the American League record? 60-plus home runs is plus 250. To break his own mark at 63, that's plus 450. To lead in all of the major stat categories, batting average, RBIs, and homers, and win the Triple Crown, that's plus 870. The only issue, Donnie, and I don't know if you know this, because at the time you weren't working with our producer, Joe Frizo, on a daily basis. When Aaron Judge was trying to break Roger Maris's record, Roger Maris Jr. was in the spotlight at all of the games down the stretch. Nobody in this world that Joe Frizo hates more than Roger Maris Jr., which means if Aaron Judge gets close to those plus money prices, our producer Joe is going to be really upset.
Well, why? Does that mean that, again, that same family is going to be following him around for what apparent reason at this point? Like, why would he begin reaching into his own pocket and saying, come on, man,
Judge's
break
family,
this
right?
Because I'm running out of money. Exactly, correct, yes.
So I guess the question then would be, how mad would college football fans get again if they start doing cut-ins during college football games as the Yankees are playing in the month of September? What home run ceiling do you think Aaron Judge hits this year?
It's funny you bring that up, too, because he's having a sensational season. And if you look at right now, 32 home runs, so if he just says, oh, well, halfway point, he should get 65 home runs. That's not always the case because we don't know that player is going to be playing every single day. And I understand it's not fair, and you can't just factor in, well, we know Aaron Judge typically gets injured at some point here. That toe is going to flare up. But that's a real thing at this point. And also, if you're looking at that Yankees lineup right now and saying to yourself, well, the only guys you don't want to have beat you right now technically would be Soto and Judge. Maybe Soto doesn't see as many pitches. Maybe Aaron Judge doesn't see as many pitches as you might in the past at this point. So for my money here, and also, we're not talking about he hits 60-plus home runs and it's a minus 175 price. It's still a really nice plus money number.
For sure.
So you are getting that dog price, which means it's supposed to be harder to get to, and technically he's not supposed to get there. I'm not betting against Aaron Judge. I'm just betting against the circumstances around Aaron Judge, meaning that he may get injured. And a week's time off here, that could be the difference here. And also, heading down the stretch of the season, if he truly is dominating in the box like we think he probably will be, is he going to get enough pitches to hit said home runs? So just being a handicapper here, I would fade it, but not again fading because Aaron Judge is going to end up hitting 275 on the season when he's hitting 307 now, and he just can't get out of his own way. I expect Aaron Judge to have a very good season. I just don't know if the opportunities, Ben, are going to be there for him to hit the mid-60s or so.
After the Yanks' first game in the month of July, he was batting .321. He has cooled down a little bit to .307, still one of the top 10 best batting averages in all of the bigs. But in 8 games for Judge in July, he's really cooled down with the long ball, only 1 home run. So 32 homers in 94 games. He's not necessarily on pace to hit at least 60 this year. And with Stephen Kwan now being eligible, meaning the innings requirements, he's batting .361. That's a lot for Aaron Judge to catch in the Triple Crown race. Similar question for Shohei Ohtani. Trey Turner's batting .345, but not eligible as of yet. Christian Yelich now eligible, .335 for Milwaukee. Don't think Shohei gets to those numbers as well. Paul Skeens, day number 11 as of this Thursday on the road in Milwaukee. 175 strikeouts for a guy that has 78 in his first 10 starts of his MLB career. Plus 196. Is the number enticing enough to bet?
It is enticing. Now, also, we just had Jack talking to us about Paul Skeens. If I could actually get that honest information that says, by the way, Pittsburgh is not going to sit him at all. If he's healthy, he will pitch right through that first week of October. Obviously, we don't think the Pirates are going to make the playoffs. Then, yes, I would bet that here. It's just hard for me to tell myself that if he is pitching well and the Pirates go, well, why would we waste an extra 16 to 20 innings on this kid's arm and just shuts him down? That's a tough pill to swallow because he should be able to get there. We just don't know. And again, it's like Aaron Judge. It's It's not going to be Paul Skeen's fault as if he breaks down as it's a terrible pitcher.
Yeah.
It just may be out of his hands due to what the organization thinks is in his best interest.
It is a really good point. Jack has a little bit more intimate knowledge, of course, being a part of that organization, not in the daily decisions the MLB club makes, of course. Now we'll go around the 12-game slate on this Thursday in Major League Baseball. Donnie's baseball breakdown next.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I want to know, too, what was the highest you ever got on both of those metrics?
So the highest club head speed I've ever gotten with a 45-inch driver, we'll just say stock, was, I think it was 129.9. I never cracked 130. Never cracked 130. That was juice. That was on caffeine. I can't even talk. And then I got 195 ball speed.
195 ball speed.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Will it be a sweep today in Philadelphia for the marquee matchup this week in Major League Baseball between the Phillies and the Dodgers? The Phils won Game 1 10-1. The Phils won Game 2 4-3. 6:06 p.m. Eastern Time. The start tonight. And the Phillies, the strongest favorite we have seen so far, minus 152 to knock off the Dodgers today. Total at 9.5. Aaron Nola gets the start for the Phils. Will it be a perfect 3 for 3 for Philadelphia today at the bank?
It really should. You saw yesterday a left-handed pitcher on the mound who was a very good one, and Christopher Sanchez have a nice performance against the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, as we told you over the past 30 days, were really hitting the baseball well off left-handed pitchers. Against right-handed pitchers, a little bit of a different tune here. Ohtani, great numbers. Will Smith, great numbers. Freddie Freeman, great numbers over the past month. The rest of the guys leave a lot to be desired, and Aaron Nola at home should be able to do the task. If we are taking a look over the past 60 days, without taking a look at like home and road splits here, you look at Aaron Nola, a 79 xFIP minus and an ERA of 3.34 with an xFIP of 3.15. That's going to do the job. Flip it over to the other side on the Dodgers. And for a team that's favored to win the World Series, sending out guys that the average person has no idea who they are on the mound, Landon Knack probably fits that mold. His last 56 batters, Ben, combined ISO power number of 283. Look at this Phillies lineup. 7 of 9 guys with high weighted on base percentages against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days. That's Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Castellanos, Marsh, and Marchand. And also keep in mind, 88-degree temperatures, muggy again in the city of brotherly love, 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right field. The Phillies should once again be able to handle their business and complete a sweep against the Dodgers, which is incredible.
Landon Knack, 34 2/3 innings this year for the young man out of Johnson City, Tennessee. Sing a little wagon wheel for Landon Knack today, 1-2 with a 2.86 ERA. Let me ask you one final follow-up question about this marquee matchup. Both you and I believe this could be the NLCS that we see at the end of October. If the Phils sweep, will we see more market movement in terms of the odds, the numbers for both teams to win the pennant and the World Series?
It'll move slightly, and also keep in mind, once again, these numbers are priced upon both of these teams making the playoffs. And look, I'm the ultimate Phillies fan. It'd be very easy for me to say, yeah, they sweep them. Yeah, of course it's going to be the Phillies. I do believe the Phillies overall right now have the best roster construction in Major League Baseball. But we bring on guest after guest, and I still have the same stance as well. The Dodgers are going to look completely different because Landon Knack is not starting postseason games against Aaron Nola. That's going to be a much more qualified pitcher, whether it comes off their IL or comes by the way of trade. So it will change slightly here because the narrative will be there, but it's not going to change my opinion because that narrative will change fast over the next month when the Dodgers get healthy and make moves.
Yeah, really good point, DRS. A really good point. But mark the numbers as of right now, not just at the conclusion of this series, but the conclusion of the first half before the All-Star break. The Dodgers, the favorites to win the National League pennant, plus 165. The Phils back by just over half a buck at plus 220. They were separated by a full dollar before this set began. 3-1, that's the number on the Dodgers to win the World Series, plus 480, the price on the Phils to win the World Series, second best number for Philadelphia. Now we go out to Phoenix, the fourth and final game of this midweek set between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Atlanta Braves. The Braves took the first two, the Diamondbacks off the shelf yesterday to get their first victory in this series. Brandon Pfaadt gets the start tonight. Max Fried on the other side for Atlanta. The Braves, a slight road favorite, minus 124. The over-under is at 8. Are we going to see a series split or the Braves taking a series victory by winning 3 of 4?
Yeah, taking a look at yesterday, right? The Atlanta Braves are one of those teams that you just factor in on a day-to-day basis and say, let's just take the under because that's what they do. But yesterday, I thought there was a really good chance with those pitchers on the mound that we could get an over, and we saw that happen today. Let's get right back to the basics. This game is probably going to be an under. Fried's on the mound. He's been fantastic. Full season numbers. How about this? 416 batters, Ben, he's faced. An ISO power number against, 0.79. A weighted on base percentage, 272. Strikeout numbers above 20%. Last 30 days, really just as impressive as well. However, left-handed pitchers not doing so great here against Arizona as they've really elevated themselves over the past month. But I do believe in this instance, the pitcher will win out. Flip it over to Atlanta here. Brandon Pfaadt, not that everyday name where you think he's a dominant pitcher, but how about over the past 60 days here? Coming with a 95 xFIP minus number, a 3.88 ERA, and a manageable 3.82 xFIP number. And talking about a lineup outside of two guys, that's Jarred Kelenic and Austin Riley, against right-handed pitching over the past month for the Atlanta Braves, have elevated weighted on base percentages. Everybody else in that projected lineup today, Ben, is below that form. So instead of taking a look at a side and you say maybe Atlanta's just a better team and maybe they should win the rubber match here, I'm just going under out in the desert where I did like the over yesterday.
Yesterday, the Yanks, an underdog in the Trop in Tampa. They finally got a win. Trent Grisham batting 176 this year, delivering both ribbies for the New York Yankees. They win a low-scoring affair, 2-1 over the Rays. Today, the total 8. Nestor Cortez gets the start for New York, and they're a road favorite in Tampa at minus 124 to win the rubber match of this series. The Yankees entered yesterday losers of 6 of their last 21. They get a win. Can they make it 2 straight?
Yeah, you saw that 7.5 up there. And again, the Trop, not really a great hitter's ballpark, as we know. You saw it yesterday, even though you had double-digit hits there for the Tampa Bay Rays and 0 for 10 in runners in scoring position. That game ends up at 2-1 yesterday, going well under the total. Are there great pitchers on the mound today? Not necessarily, but Nestor Cortez over the past 60 days coming in with a 94 xFIP minus number. That's not bad. And also his numbers, his last 119 batters that he's faced, a 150 ISO, very manageable. Weighted on base percentage of 280, same exact thing. A K rate rate of around 24%, the walk rate around 3%, not giving out those free passes. The Tampa Bay Rays lineup has done well against left-handed pitching over the past month, but we would like the Rays if they were, let's just say, playing in Camden Yards or Fenway as opposed to being at home at the Trop. Let's flip it over to the Yankees side here. Shane Baz back on the mound today. Only 25 batters faced this season. He is a pedigree pitcher. It'll be interesting to see how long he goes in this game, but also keep in mind, the Yankees have done a decent job against right-handed pitching over the past month. Here's the issue, though. Which Yankees lineup are you going to get today, and how many runs do we actually think they're going to get? This game is screaming that 4-3 type caliber. It's a coin flip to me, but once again, just like we talked about that game in Arizona, I'm going to lean towards the under in the Trop once again today.
The New York Yankees have not won back-to-back games in a month since they had a 4-game win streak come to a close on June 12th. At that point, the Yanks were 49-21. They had a 3-game lead over Baltimore in the American League East. Now they trail the O's by 2 games. But the Orioles not making up a ton of ground this week. In fact, losing ground as they've lost 2 straight to the Cubs. Chicago's won 6 of its last 7, including the first 2 as big underdogs inside Camden Yards. They're the underdog again today. Can the Orioles avoid a sweep against the Cubs?
This is why we love Major League Baseball, and this is how it's so crazy to handicap in that daily grind where you see something every day that you didn't anticipate. We came into this series, Ben, saying what? Oh, boy, if you're the Yankees, watch out, because there's probably a sweep on deck for the Baltimore Orioles, and you're going to struggle in Tampa. And yet here we are today talking about a sweep. Yes, but by the Chicago Cubs, and typically say, I mean, how did they lose Corbin Burns' game? Well, now you go out today with Suarez on the mound. He's not the best pitcher on the mound today. That's the left-handed pitcher, Justin Steele, for the Chicago Cubs. Take a look at his last 30 days, Ben. 133 batters faced, an ISO power number of 0.71 against, and a weighted on-base percentage of 205, a K rate approaching 27%, and also a lineup. Yes, the Orioles have been handling left-handed pitchers fine over the past month, but Steele coming in much better form. Now, weather conditions, once again, we talked about in Philadelphia, almost identical. 88 degrees, wind blowing out to right field. That should help the batters. But if we are taking a look at the Chicago Cubs against Suarez, he's really struggled against right-handed batters. Right-handed batters should be the focal point here. And dare I say, is the better team today the Chicago Cubs over the Baltimore Orioles and sweeping the Orioles in their own ballpark? I think it might happen today.
Plus 120. The Cubbies could win outright as a dog. Once again, keep an eye on Chicago. Still in the basement of the National League Central alongside the Reds. 10 games back of the Brew Crew and 5 games below 500. But a little bit of life ahead of the All-Star break. More baseball breakdowns next.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I want to know, too, what was the highest you ever got on both of those metrics?
So the highest club head speed I've ever gotten with a 45-inch driver, we'll just say stock, was, I think it was 129.9. I never cracked 130. Never cracked 130. That was juice. That was on caffeine. I can't even talk. And then I got 195 ball speed.
195 ball speed.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The fourth and final of a four-game set in the Motor City between the Tigers and the Guardians today. Cleveland entered this week as the best team in the American League with the best record. It's where they stand ever so slightly right now in front of Baltimore, despite dropping two of the first three against Detroit. So the Guardians today, an underdog against the Tigers and Jack Flaherty, minus 130 for Detroit. The over-under stands at 8. Detroit swept Cincinnati over the weekend, capped off by a Tarek Skubal 13K performance. Could the Tigers take 3 of 4 against the AL's best team, DRS?
I believe a famous coach once said these words, "Go Tigers!" And yes, that means the Tigers could be the right side today going up against Cleveland. Absolutely. Let's take a look at the matchup here. Jack Flaherty, last 60 days in Major League Baseball, a 56 xFIP minus number, unheard ofly good. An ERA of 2.68, an xFIP of 2.33. I like that Guardians lineup, don't get me wrong. But Flaherty, I believe he might be the better pitcher today. Let's flip it over to the opposite side. Spencer Howard on the mound for the Cleveland Guardians. Stop the madness here. You take a look at his last 60 days, a 124 xFIP minus number, a 5.63 ERA. And if we're taking a look at just those matchups here, non-analytically with ISO and weighted on base percentages, 192 and 460. Get out of town. Cole Keith should be on your roster today. Riley Green should be on the roster today for RBI. And yes, we are going to take the Detroit Tigers in this game. How about that?
Wow. Detroit, 3 of 4 from the Guardians. 3 straight over the Reds. Some optimism into the final weekend before the All-Star break. Matt Vierling yesterday, 3 RBIs. Who said that? I'll show my age. You can make fun of me, but who said...
Wait a second. You're not being. You must be playing along with me. And no, it wasn't Jim Leland that said it. It was another famous coach with a little bit of a background in the South who loved to eat Cajun food. And sometime, SportsGrid. Now you sat in with the guy. We asked this guy multiple questions.
Hold on a second.
Clip this.
That is on me.
Clip this and send this to
that is on me.
Send this to college football
I didn't realize
today. This guy can't represent college
football. I didn't realize
on this channel.
Yeah, that honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought you were referencing a movie. That was on me. That's Ed Ogeron. That's Coach O. I didn't realize you were spelling go, Geaux. Oh, boy. You want to tee up the next game, even though it's Skeens Day number 11? I think I need a time out for a second to recollect myself.
I do like that because sometimes you think like the partner behind the scenes with he's like, let me just have some fun with this. So I was like, I'll play along. But then noticing that it was actually getting a little bit serious right there. Yeah, go Tigers. Perfect here at this point. Oh, well, it didn't hit. Maybe it hit with some people out there. Milwaukee and
it was good.
Go ahead. It was. It hit home. All right. Then we know it's going to hit home today. It's going to be Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens with some filthy numbers. We talked about it already. You take a look at the 2.12 ERA, the xFIP number 2.34, the minuscule xFIP minus number of a 59. Good luck, Milwaukee Brewers. Now, granted already, you're going up against one of the better right-handed pitchers in baseball who's young and certainly making his way around in his rookie year. But having said that, if it was any right-handed pitcher on the mound, the Milwaukee Brewers have been struggling with them, Ben, over the past 30 days. Bryce Terang, 167 ISO. Christian Yelich, 270. Jackson Chourio, 200. Outside of that, they have been abysmal against right-handed pitching. Advantage Paul Skeens and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's flip it over to the other side. Aaron Savali. Let me just give you some numbers that he's been working with. Over the past 110 batters he's faced, how about an ISO of 235 and a weighted on base percentage of 369? This tells you a lot. The Pittsburgh Pirates are going on the road against the best team in that division, and they are a favorite. Not because they're a great lineup, it's because Paul Skeens is on that mound and he's a better pitcher than Aaron Savali.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh should win this game, but as we hasten many times, do you just go first 5 and say, give me Skeens Savali, or do you say Skeens will go 6 innings and, oh boy, 7, 8, 9, hold on?
So, DRS, we've shared this a few times. The Pirates as an as a favorite this year, which they often are with Paul Skeens on the bump, not great. They're one of 4 teams around Major League Baseball that has a losing outright record as a favorite. 18-19 for the Buccos. The Padres have lost the last couple of days as a favorite against the D-backs and the M's. Now they're 3 games below 500, 25-28. The only other 2 teams, the Angels and the Marlins. But when it comes to Paul Skeens and what he does on the bump, look at the K-prop as well. 7.5 is the number. It remains there. It's been there for a while, since Skeens Day number 3 or 4, but the over used to have plus money. Now it has the juice. As Craig Mish warned, we're getting close to 8.5 under having the VIG, because he's had 8+ Ks in 6 of his last 7 starts, and the Pirates have won 7 of the 10 starts that Skeens has made individually. He's a 5-0 record with a 2.12 ERA. Last night out in San Francisco, the Blue Jays a big victory, 10-6 over the Giants. A little bit of day baseball up by the Bay. -120 the number in favor of San Fran. 7.5 the total. What do you like in a matchup between the Jays and the Giants?
How many times have I come on this program and said, you know, when you get the same weather conditions out in the Bay Area for night games, mid-60s, wind blowing out the center field, here's what we love. It's a 12:45 start Pacific time. How about this, Ben? 75 degrees out there with the wind blowing out the dead center field. That should change some things. That marine layer that creeps in at night shouldn't be there during the day. That should help the bats here. And also taking a look at Kevin Gausman, a decent pitcher, yes. Jordan Hicks, a decent pitcher, yes. But we're not having to worry about, oh, no, we're running into an Aaron Nola or a Paul Skeens at this point. So without actually doing deep handicapping on both sides, even though the lineups actually look good today, sometimes it is about the weather here that can give you the boost. Usually it's a detriment in San Francisco. This afternoon, it's actually a positive. Let's go with the over today with the Blue Jays and the San Francisco Giants.
Love that. 7.5, the rubber match of this series. Elliot Ramos, the all-star, the young all-star in the National League for the Giants, +165 to record a ribby, something he has done in both of the first 2 games against Toronto. The Houston Astros looking to crawl closer to the Seattle Mariners. The Stros now 4 games above 500. Best record they have had all year. They're taking advantage of playing Miami. -184. Will it be another victory for the Stros today?
Look, Jake Bloss is on the mound for Houston, so I don't even know what to expect out of him. Only 15 batters so far. But the one thing we do know, the Miami Marlins have the worst pitcher on the card today in Roderick Munoz. He doesn't get lefties out. He doesn't get righties out. The Houston Astros on the ascent to possibly being in first place or tied by the All-Star break. Say it ain't so. How did that happen? They'll win today.
Looking for the sweep over the Fish. If they do, that's 16 wins in their last 20 games. More baseball breakdowns, best bets next.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I want to know, too, what was the highest you ever got on both of those metrics?
So the highest club head speed I've ever gotten with a 45-inch driver, we'll just say stock, was, I think it was 129.9. I never cracked 130. Never cracked 130. That was juice. That was on caffeine. I can't even talk. And then I got 195 ball speed.
195 ball speed.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
PRS, your American League team yesterday, not a great showing at home in Fenway against the Oakland Athletics. They went down 5-2 despite winning the first game by a ton over the A's to take the opener. Rubber match today then between Boston and Oakland at Fenway. Whew, look at this price. It is the largest money line price on the board right now in favor of any specific team. Tanner Houck in the Red Sox, minus 230. The over-under 9.5 against the Athletics. Will Boston win the set?
Yeah, by the way, only 2 runs yesterday. How about that? Tyler O'Neill, best bet yesterday on the show for me to get an RBI. Got an RBI out of those 2 runs, so we'll take that as a fantastic performance from the Boston batters. But I do think the Boston batters rise up again tonight. Luis Medina, not a great pitcher. Last 60 days, a 134 xFIP minus. ERA coming in around 4.5, but more importantly, that xFIP number, close to 5.5. Fly balls out there on a day with 82 degrees and the wind blowing out double digits once again over Fenway's Green Monster. I think we get some runs. Should be an easy victory for Boston today. And if you're putting some of those guys on your roster to get RBI, I mean, come on, Rafael Devers, Tyler O'Neill, David Hamilton, Karen Durant. There's a lot of them here. Should be a runaway victory for the Boston Red Sox in this game, no doubt.
Listen, I'm not necessarily rooting for the Red Sox, but I do want Boston playing their best baseball before I head to Fenway Park for the first time in my life on Saturday afternoon. However, don't tell this to the faithful there in New England. They're taking on the Royals this weekend. You know, I'm a KC guy. You know, I got the over of the Royals win total at 73.5. KC yesterday, victorious in both games against St. Louis. 51 wins now for Kansas City. You know we're going to be sprinkling on our guy Vinny Pasquantino to record a ribby in Fenway. So before we say farewell and goodbye on this Thursday, we give you a best bet. It's like a preview of the last 10, but lasts like 2.5 with Ben. It is time for Bye, Bye, Bye. PRS, oftentimes on a Thursday in Major League Baseball, it's a getaway day. You've got a ton of afternoon games. It's an off day before a weekend series begins for whatever team around the league. We got 12 games today. That's a rather large Thursday slate. So before we get into the final weekend, before the All-Star break in MLB, what's your best bet on this Thursday?
Best bet? Let's go to Philadelphia. By the way, I wanted to go to Houston today, but Jordan Alvarez might not be in the lineup. That would have been an unbelievable play for an RBI. So let's go back to a guy that came off the IL hot again here. It's Kyle Schwarber, left-handed batter for the Philadelphia Phillies against right-handed pitching over the past month. 326 ISO, weighted on base percentage, 404, wind blowing out to left field. He's probably going to hit a home run. But again, let's not get greedy here. Let's just get the RBI. The FanDuel Sportsbook right now, minus 105 price for Kyle Schwarber to record an RBI. He should get that done tonight.
The Mets looking for a sweep, by the way, today. Some day baseball at Citi Field. A slight home favorite against the Nats, trying to sweep Washington, the Grimace Mets, the June Mets, who were 16-8. Now 6-4 here in the month of July. Looking to make that a 7-4 mark in this month. We'll talk a little New York, though, but not out in Queens, over in Brooklyn, where the Liberty are back at home today in the second leg of a back-to-back against the Connecticut Sun. It is the only game. It is a standalone game in the WNBA on this Thursday evening. Both teams, of course, on a back-to-back. New York was on the road yesterday. Quick trip, though, back from Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. Chicago was at home yesterday against Atlanta. They got to fly all the way over here on short rest. Will Angel Reese get to 15 consecutive double-doubles? Not entirely sure. But I'll tell you somebody I'm looking at the rebounding prop today. That's Stewie. Breanna Stewart, 18 points, 14 boards yesterday. Breanna Stewart has had double-digit rebounds in 4 of the last 5 games for New York. I went to a rebounding prop expecting to see 10.5, even 11 and a hook. It's 9.5, and the under has the juice. I think the number is wrong. I go over 9.5 boards today, DRS, for Stewie against Chicago.
Double-digit boards here on the horizon. And by the way, in Major League Baseball, 5 afternoon games here today and a nice little night slate as well. So we're going to have some good times. And I'm feeling a sweep in best bets today as we head into Friday, which Friday is payday around these parts, people. So we're ready. We're ready.
Friday's payday. Monday is new week, new money. And I was cold yesterday. I went chasing my tail. Wimbledon live bets, WNBA live bets. Almost got down with the soccer. I'm just going to have that one bet today on Breanna Stewart and hoping that it pays out until we talk to you on a Friday. It starts at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. He's Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. Thank you for joining us here on this Thursday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Talk to you tomorrow here on the SportsGrid.